Thank you very much for coming to see us today. Basically, what we're doing is the topic of this is for measurement tools, and we're also going to include annotations as well. It'd be useful to have have a little message from you all to see how many of you are currently using measurement tools, or how many of you are new to PSPDFKit, and these types of things. So just put a little note in there, and I can just adjust the content a little bit to suit everybody. I'm Matthew, Product Manager and Lead Manager for Web and for Measurement Tools. We also have Joanna here. She's Product Manager for the mobile platforms.
Hello.
We also have off stage, we have Kelly, a Marketing Manager, and Pavel. And basically they'll assist with some of the questions as we go through and can help answer some of them. Over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to delve into many of the features we have of the measurement tools. And our session will cover an introduction to the basic functions, compatibility across various platforms, and some of the detailed work through. We'll go through them, and for those who have used them before in the last year, you'll see some really useful changes now for this next iteration that we have. And we also have time at the end, sort of 10 minutes or so, to take some questions. So just keep putting them into the chat, and we can have a little question and answer session there. Now, we've been providing measurement tools now for about 1 year, and now we're going to demonstrate the next iteration of these. Basically, we took a lot of feedback from probably some of yourselves and our customers to see what were the biggest bugs they had with measurement tools, and we've made quite a lot of significant changes, primarily in the UX and usability of it, so it just becomes a little bit more intuitive to use, a little bit of a helper for people taking off fast measurements and these things. Basically, we have compatibility across lots of platforms. We have a very diverse range of developers wanting to use PSPDFKit. So we also have teams of our developers working on all these different aspects to try to keep it all as unified as possible and to keep releasing features across these platforms. Whether you're working in cross-platform environments like Electron, Flutter, React Native, or Maui, we're basically trying to improve that across everybody. In this iteration of measurement tools, we go through their main capabilities we have at the moment. Obviously, distance, perimeter, area type measurement tools. We have an enhanced calibration now, which includes multiple scales and precision for the value. We've introduced, for example, the difference between decimal and fractional. We're adding in secondary units for measurements. We'll see how these help. And we've also introduced point snapping for web. We had this on mobile before. Now we've brought snapping into the web SDK, which should help a lot of people. And we have one new annotation specifically in here called call-out annotations. And this has been asked for by a lot of people in the construction industry to be able to point to a very detailed part of the drawing and then attach some text attached to there. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into the demo, and I'll start walking through basically these capabilities. The demo is available on the public website at all times, but I'd appreciate it if you don't all rush off and do it now, because last time we tried that, it just started to slow some things down. So it's better just to leave me on my own to go through that if it's possible. Thanks very much. I'll need to just basically stop the share for this and change over to the other screen. So this is basically the demo. We now start with a construction drawing, which you didn't have before. And in the main toolbar that we have at the top, we now have the icon here for annotation toolbar. And when we click this, we basically bring all of the main tools into one place. So on the left-hand side, just running through them quickly, we'll have the detail of each one a little bit more and put them on the stage, PDF. The distance tool, we have a perimeter tool, we have an area tool, we have a polygon area that lets you sort of go around fairly straight shapes all the way around to create area, and an ellipse area for more circular type parts. We have a brand new icon here, which is for calibrating. I'll come to that in a minute. And then we have a new button here which jumps up, which is basically for the scale editor. Now, previously we only allowed one scale per PDF, but now we can have sort of multiple scales, and they're all visible in a new UI. I'm just going to click this briefly for you to see it, and we'll come back to that when we start to set the scales in here. One of the first challenges that customers came to us was when your end users were first expected to start applying measurements and they're not familiar with the tool. Their problem was, where do they start? And often they would start immediately by trying to place a normal annotation, because that's where the scale was attached in each annotation, and that was causing problems. So now we've got a sort of a fairly prominent button here, which basically lets you, informs the end user immediately, you need to set a scale. Otherwise, all your measurements are just not going to be great. So basically what we'll do is, generally to set a scale, you would look to a number of places. Either you know what the scale is, perhaps programmatically, in which case you can set the scale through the API and set that. You might know the scale because it's written somewhere on the drawing itself, or you might know the scale because you have a scale bar, or you might know the scale because you have a known measurement on the drawing. So there's a number of different ways of taking that measurement. On this particular drawing, what I'm going to do is basically take it from a known measurement here, something like this one, 20 feet. So by using this new tool here, which is the calibration tool, small tooltip, we can basically let's take this across to here and drop it in. Now, for those who are familiar or unfamiliar, you see top right-hand corner, we have the magnifier. That lets you sort of place the pointer a little bit more accurately onto the drawing. And you can see snapping is not in today on the demo. So basically what we have here is the default at the moment is inches. Now you can set that default per document. As the builder, you can basically set that yourself. In here, we know that this represents feet, so we're going to change it over to feet, and we know it's supposed to be 20 feet. Now here we have the precision. Let's set this to something sort of not too detailed. So now we have a different instance of the SDK, and here what you can see new in the toolbar is the snapping. We'll come back to that in a while. And we also have the multiple scales. Because we set a scale, that bright red button that we saw earlier has been replaced now with a list of the scales that are there in the drop down. So what we should expect to see, let's take let's go back to here. Let's delete this scale. We can't do it because there's a default one. Okay, so let's do a calibration. We know that this is supposed to be 30 centimeters. Okay. We change the units over to 30. Okay, and now what should happen? So you'll notice something here, that the red line that's doing the distance measurement is now snapping to various parts of the UI. So we know this should be 20, and it's not. I probably didn't do my calibration perfectly. Let's reset that one. Just let that snap into place. Snap 30 centimeters. Okay. And now when I take my new measurement and I go to 10, there. So what I did there, previously I didn't snap the first part, so when I clicked on it, it didn't snap in. But now I've snapped it to 0 and I've snapped it to 10. You can see we have an exact precision there for the distance. So that's basically for, now we know it's calibrated. Potentially we can start taking different measurements from here. Now, just briefly to run through some of the other tools, just so for those who are maybe not super familiar with it, we have here the polygon. which is basically a perimeter, which lets you go around something. Maybe it's an abstract shape, so we can do this. We have changed the icon for the cursor because it was never quite clear what you had to do with a normal mouse pointer. Now we basically have a new pen icon. You have a circle, and it kind of gives that user the hint, you need to be drawing something here. So let's just place that, for example, on a cross. And you just simply click the perimeters where you expect it to be. And we know this should be basically 6 times 6 times 6. But I didn't quite place it. So you can see this helper line is helping us place we didn't have that before, obviously. There was like no visual feedback to the user. This makes it much more intuitive. You'll see something else as we're getting close to the original point, because this perimeter is typically used for a surrounding. It now basically snaps to the original origin point from there, which makes it super useful. We just click to finish that off, and then always within the tool is more intuitive. Now we just use an escape. So if I hit escape, that exits from the drawing mode, and then now we have our perimeter annotation there. The others are the same. We have the perimeter and we have the circular, this one here. So again, you see how the snapping is picking up on here, just makes it a little bit more intuitive. There are times when you're on a drawing and you're trying to do the distance and you want it to touch something which is like just next to. You see how this is annoying with the snapping on. So what happens is you can basically disable it straight away in the UI. And now when you come back to our drawing, now you have that much more pixel perfect control over setting it. So, but if we go back, for example, to taking this tool and doing a fast one, you can just basically, you see, it just goes in. I turned off snapping. That's no good. It just makes it much faster. So if you know you have good points on there for snapping to, it makes it faster. So it's up to the end user to choose basically which of the methods that they want to go through. Now, we have here a 10 centimeter distance that we set before, which is basically this one. Let me create a new scale. So I'm going to duplicate. Let's do another one in here. Let's go to this, add a new scale. I'm going to rename this one. I'm going to call it centimeters. I'm going to call this one inches. We're going to set the units to inches. And what happens when you have multiple scales, you now have more than one scale to choose from. So you can add a friendly name for the scale, which is obviously new now. You can have multiple scales, and you can tell the annotation which one to use. So at the moment, this one is using the centimeters. It's selected. If I change it over to inches, it's now going to render with the inches. So that basically does both on there. We do have this. So I could actually calibrate one from here. Let's come across to here, 12. But before I take that measurement, I'm just going to get it exactly. We know it's inches. Let's go to 12. Let's set a sensible. Let's set a sensible precision. 12. So now we can basically take a measurement off. Let's go straight in immediately. 7 inches, 6 inches, 5 inches. Because we have the whole precision. So here, let's go in, and we're going to edit the scale. So if you remember, I had this inches in whole numbers here, precision of 1. If I now come across to there, you'll see it's now exactly 4.5. So we have much more control over that precision. And for those who were super observant, you'll see that in the scale, we have this new precision here of imperial. So for the US audiences, for the UK audiences, those that are using it, we now have these fractional precision. So I'm going to set this one to we're setting basically what the minimum amount it goes to. So if you're dealing with larger distances, then obviously you want to perhaps have whole numbers or go for halves. If you're dealing with much smaller, so for example, if you're in carpentry, stuff like this, you might want to go to a smaller resolution. So here, let me pick this one, 1/16. You'll see it's going to 4.5. But if I move it, you'll see it's going to 3/8, it's going to 1/4, it's going to 1/8, each of those in those incremental steps. So that's like a super useful feature that everyone's been asking about. Now, new for this also, while we're still in scales, we have this display secondary unit. The display secondary unit, we can choose the second unit. So if we choose, for example, to millimeters, what you'll see, precision, you'll see that we have the millimeters in here. There's a bug in the demo at the moment that they're rendering the same value, but you understand the principle that when you run this in production, this will actually be the converted value of whatever 4.5 inches is. And this allows you then to have your drawings marked up for different audiences. For those who are used for working in metric, and those who are used to working in imperial, you can just render both on the same. And obviously the other way of looking at this, let me just take that off. Let me come back up to here. So let me just remove that preference. Take the secondary measurement off. So if this one was 4.97 centimeters, you can change it over to inches and you see immediately how it just changes over immediately. So you could in fact have that as the user case for people preferring one other measurement over the other value. They can just switch the whole lot from there. So that's this part. Now, obviously, we still have here the individual annotations themselves. You can control these. So you can change some of the colors for different things, programmatic through the UI, however you prefer. Opacity, if some of them are overlapping, things like this. It's the usual style that we have on there. The snapping we talked about, you can enable that, disable it. The scales we have in here. Just double checking if there's nothing extra. No. So that's basically covered all of those. Something else we brought in this same release now is the call out annotation. So here you might be looking to look at a particular part of the drawing. So you might say here, and then you might type something, for example, and then you can basically just tidy up the parts of it. Let's move this. Let's move the label, move the pointer, and just make the whole thing look a little bit. Grab the elbow. And then basically it allows you to place these call-out annotations straight onto the document. I haven't been reading in the chat to see if there's anything coming up, so we'll cover any unanswered questions towards the end on there. Now, just a quick overview. Those people who have not seen the normal annotations that we have, basically in PSPDFKit, we have a bunch of annotations which are things like, let's go through. So we have drawing, freeform drawing, freeform highlighting. So let's just pick something like this. You can just basically highlight a part of there's a text highlighter. So if I wanted to highlight this particular one, I can just select anywhere where there's text. I can just go along and drag this. It creates a highlight annotation. We have the eraser. So I can basically erase some things, whatever I drew that was in vector, ink drawings, things, I can do that. Here we can just draw. Obviously have all the tools to mark up the styling, how you like, set presets. We have adding signature. Let's draw a signature on. Done. This is useful for document signing workflow. This is very basic signatures. During this year, we actually have a lot of capabilities now to go to advanced digital signatures and enhanced digital signatures. So we're at the high for this. We can insert images, upload them. We have stamps. So we have pre-built stamps, and we have custom stamps. So you might want to say bath or something, and we can pop this straight onto the the drawing. Some of you in the construction industry are using this for references. So you can actually use them with value numbers that link back to some other document reference and place those on the drawing. We have link annotation. So for example, we could link this one here to a specific URL or a page. It's basically invisible, but there's a hit area you see there when you put over with the pointer. We have these note icons. So this is useful for finding a place on the drawing, marking it, typing some text. These are basically exportable as well. So you can export these. That's now hiding in there. And we have a number of different colors, number of different icons you can use for various purposes in here. Then we have a plain text. So you can just basically start typing a text box here. And then you can do stuff with the text box. A lot of the annotations now in this year as well, you may not know, are also rotatable. I didn't cover that. The ones which are relevant to be rotated. No, not all of them. The ones that are relevant to be rotated basically are allowed to be rotated. Print icon. This basically flattens things, whereas the export doesn't flatten them. So if you export with comments, those comments will be available in third-party browsers like Adobe Reader. And if you do the print, it basically flattens it as if, for example, you printed it to a printer. There's a subtle difference. We have document editor, where you can do various things to pages, rotate, insert, merge, delete, these types of things. And document crop. This might be useful for some of you. Basically, you set the area and then you can tell it to crop all the pages, crop the current page, etc. And then we have basic search for something. Let's see. So we can see there the 12 was highlighted when I searched for it. Wherever the 12 is, it just finds that. So that pretty much covers all of that. I'm going to stop sharing. And what we'll do, we'll move over to my colleague Joanna, and she'll go through sharing how we are with measurement tools on iOS. That'd be cool. I'm not sure if she's doing it live or with a recording, but she'll go through that. Let me just have a quick look at the chat while we're waiting for her to get ready. Awesome. Thanks very much for a quick observation. The measurement tools is implemented like it is on the demo, but obviously you have customization that you will do from your side. So you can sort of rearrange the buttons, customize the buttons, choose certain behaviors that are active through the API themselves. So when you're implementing your instance of the measurement tools, there's a lot you can do to make it suit your environment. So Robert, you asked that question, which Pavel answered about, is it only on PDF? Yes, it's only on PDF. But on our roadmap for 2024, we're basically looking at a new interstitial document format, which then you would be able to then export to other formats. So instead of working directly on a PDF, you might work with another format and convert it out to PDF, convert it out to Office, these types of things. So keep an eye on our news for 2024 as we work on that.
Hello, Matthew. Sorry, I had some issues as usual during the demo. We have demo effect, but let's hope it was the last time. Okay, let me walk you through measurement tools in the mobile version. I will share my screen with a simulator of our Android SDK. Just a sec. Okay. You can see simulator for our Android SDK. So as Matthew mentioned, measurement tools is type of the annotation. So in order to get access to them, you need to choose on the main toolbar annotations. And then we are moving to annotations toolbar, and measurement tools is one of them. The same as for web. When you are using measurement tools for the first time, there is a warning for the user that the scale needs to be set. We can do it also using the calibration tool. So when you long press on the measurement tools group, you can see all tools available. So the same as on web, there is a line, there is a perimeter, polygon, and areas in different shapes. And there is also calibration tool. So let's draw the line. And let's say it's going to be a scale 1. And we know that this line has exactly 6 inches. For the precision, of course, it's easier to use fractional values in case of inches. So let's choose like that. We are clicking OK, and we are getting confirmation that scale was added. Since it's just calibration, the whole measurement disappeared. However, now when we go to the measurement tools and when we want to draw the line, we already have pre-selected scale which we created just a moment ago. Okay, let's draw some measurement. Yeah, it's 6 inches. In this top, you can see all available scales, and you can also define new scales in order to use it for different measurements. So let's add one more. This time we can just use the scale, add the scale by defining. So for example, let's say we have the scale 2, and we know that 1 inch on the screen is in the reality the same as, let's say, 3 inches. And here we can also define some different precision. In the moment when we created the scale, it's added as a new default scale, what means that now when I'm going to draw new line, new measurement, it's going to use scale 2. Also, in the later, I can modify those scales and change some settings for this particular measurement, like let's say color. Okay. One another thing which may be interesting is how we improved general experience with drawing. So with the line, you saw that when I'm drawing the line, you can see some helper lines which appears each 35 degrees. This is to make it easier for end user to just draw a straight line, what's maybe not that easy on the mobile device when you are just using your fingers. That's why we are showing those helper lines, and also we have option to snap to this line. Thanks to that, really drawing horizontal and vertical lines, it's super easy. Also, in case of different shapes, so let's say we use perimeter. Of course, we have those sharp lines, but also it is way easier to draw more precise shapes because we have those helper lines which help us to close the shape. Also, like when we are drawing, when we are, let's say, double-clicking, it's easier to snap exactly to the point where we started. Of course, if we don't need it, we can change it. I will show in a moment how to modify the configuration. One additional thing, which was already shown for the web, also here we can change secondary unit. So especially for the customers who are using the same documents across the globe, for countries where end users get used to different measurement systems, it's very useful because we can say that we need to show also those values for, let's say, European users in, for example, centimeters, and then we can, of course, so define the precision. As a consequence, each value is shown in both units, so it's way easier for the end user to understand the whole document, and it's just one click, one configuration for the whole document, so it's very easy to change it. As I said, we have also settings, and those new settings added here, where we can define, do we want to snap to the point, do we want to snap to self, and also to smart guides. We can turn it on and off depending on the need. I think that's it from my side. It was quick roundabout mobile version. I will be happy to answer the questions if you have any. Thank you.
I'm just going to take us back to, thanks very much, Joanna. Just going to take us quickly back to the webinar. Let's see where we're at. We've had the demo. So basically we have the demo on the live website at the moment. If you see bugs on the live demo, it's because we're actually making changes to it at the moment. So if it's buggy, I just want to apologize for that. While we're making some big changes to this. We have a lot of documentation on the website, so you can go through there. You can sign up for a free trial, download a version of the SDK, you can then play with it. If you need any extra license keys or anything, just contact us and we'll put the license keys in. But basically, I think the trial has access to all the components, so you get to play with everything on there. We have our support, which basically the support has a lot of our developers on. We have a few core support team, and then we have our developers doing support weeks each time. So there's always hands-on access to developers, and we typically can help give you a push along, get you started on what you're struggling with. I had a couple of questions. One thing I didn't show you was, and I might just do that very, very quickly before, yeah, we have some time. I'm going to quickly share something. The measurement tools here that I didn't show that was new for this time. If we do let's do a square, sorry. Something that was annoying people, you can quickly draw like a room very quickly with a square rectangle type thing. And what you notice is that the label for the measurement is inside the square. That's how it was. But what used to happen is when you brought this down to a very small amount, that value would jump outside of it would basically turn into a note annotation, which means it wasn't visible. And when we had quite a bunch of requests of people wanting it to always be visible. So you can see now what's happening is it basically jumps outside. And this applies to any of those where that label would normally be in, which includes the circle as well. I just wanted to give everybody that little reminder. And somebody asked a question. Yes, Sivan. He asked a question about whether you could turn a square into a perimeter or a polygon. The answer is no. But keep an eye on us, because in 2024 on our roadmap, we're looking to introduce some generative AI features. And one of those might be to merge annotations or to convert annotations, things like this. So keep an eye on our news, and hopefully we manage to deliver something like that for you. Next on our presentations, I think basically we're looking at question and answer time. So anybody has any questions? I know you don't have the mic, but just put some extra questions in the chat. That'll be super. It might be a bit long to type, but I'm also super interested to find out sort of how you're using measurement tools with your own customers. If you took some screenshots, send them to us on email or via support, that'll be just super. Maybe we can even schedule a call where you can walk us through how you're using your software and how the end users are using your software. And that helps us a lot with building use cases to help your customers as well. Can you add additional points to it? I think that's an awesome one. I'm just going to quickly try that over here. So basically we take no, I like that one as well. That's really super. Thanks, Ivan. So what I'm going to do is I've made a note of these, but we have a system in the company where we basically try to record these formally against the company, against a particular product, and against a particular component, and then that goes into some. Basically, we put out some statistics on it, and we start to sort of prioritize what are the features we build on. And we share that list. So it'd be really great if you could just send us a quick message about that. That would be great. But I like the idea of it.
Also, based on this message, we can inform you when it's implemented.
That's the other that's a really useful point, because basically those requests are attached to the feature. The feature gets discussed with the teams and the engineers, and when we get to the point of planning and building it, and then it gets released, then Pavel and his team and marketing will then look at the list of customers that had asked about it, requested it, so we can get back to you directly on it. So that's a really important point. That's the big reason for following up on that. You shouldn't be shy. We're definitely building what our customers are asking for. So you definitely shouldn't be shy with, if you see a bug or something you're not happy with, or there's an improvement you want, just send it to us on support, and just tell us about it. Screenshots, video, description. The more text, the more information you have, the better. Add a bit more about geolocation. Where would you store the information? Would you store it with the annotation? So for example, if you have, let's say it's a site plan, maybe it's of a terrain or something, and you have already known geolocation points, then you're thinking about attaching that geolocation information to the annotation itself. The dot represents a geolocation, right?
We'll be happy to discuss about more details about this geolocation and how you want to use it in your use case, what exactly you would expect to get from our SDK. Please contact us and we can schedule a call to better understand your use case and how we can fulfill your needs with geolocation.
There's two things I can think of, Robert, but send it to us. One is geospatial PDFs, and the other is actually attaching custom data to an annotation. So potentially you could place a marker, and you could programmatically, you can put some custom information to it that could be read off. So it'd be really great to contact us on support through that. Is there anything anybody else would like me just to run through? Or if you have any questions or anything? Thanks, Ivan. Thanks, Robert. Thank you very much to everybody else. And we'll keep in touch anytime. Just keep in touch with us and look forward to the next webinar that we have going on different topics. They're running sort of every 1 to 2 months. So that's great.